as possible. There are 300
Multnomah building, people thinking about family in the days after the September 11th attack. So are more people getting marriage licenses? The answer, new at 6.
Nightly news is straight ahead. Coming up, the four-legged heroes behind the search effort in New York.
Here's Tom Brokaw. We'll see you at 6.
America on alert. Up in flames, the former U.S. Embassy in Afghanistan burned and looted as the Taliban gets ready for war. NBC's terrorism task force. Tonight, a new mystery, a phone number on a map belonging to a suspected hijacker. In depth, the economy reeling. More airline layoffs. The president wants you to spend money. Where to find the best deals in clothes, vacations, cars. Sky marshals fighting back in the air. Go behind the scenes with the men and women who try to stop the hijackers. And best friends, some very special heroes at ground zero, hunting for hope in all the rubble.
From NBC News World Headquarters in New York, this is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw.
Good evening. As the fuse continues to burn tonight towards some kind of American military action, the Taliban in Afghanistan continue their defiant ways. President Bush and his advisors continue to work on a united front. They're now concentrating on some nervous Middle Eastern states. We'll begin tonight with Afghanistan, where Taliban leaders are doing all they can to whip up an anti-American frenzy. NBC's Keith Miller is next door in Islamabad, Pakistan. Keith?
The war of words coming from Afghanistan turned physical today with the Taliban-run government putting on a display of defiance against the United States.
Today, the Taliban launched a symbolic attack on America. In a carefully staged show, thousands, reportedly government officials and students, stormed the U.S. Embassy compound in the capital of Kabul, shouting, "Long live Osama, death to Bush, death to America." The embassy hasn't been used since 1988, but what was left of it was sacked and torched. Protesters smashing clubs and axes against the embassy walls, using bare hands to dismantle the embassy seal. The attack was broadcast live on Al Jazeera, a Middle Eastern network. The U.S. State Department fired back a very clear message of its own.
They've continued their defiant response to U.S. and international demands. And we think they need to demonstrate whether they support terrorism or support justice.
Inside Afghanistan today, reports of heavy fighting between the Taliban and the rebel group, the Northern Alliance, with neither side gaining any ground. The UN estimates 1 million refugees are now heading toward the Pakistan border. Today, the border remains sealed. Only Afghans with visas allowed to pass. All searched for weapons. The UN is now surveying sites for refugee camps inside Pakistan, ordering 20,000 tents, and today appealing for $250 million in emergency relief. In Karachi, a strong show of support for the Pakistani government as President Musharraf met with U.S. officials to iron out an operational plan for strikes on bin Laden.
There are still some situations that they got to work out, some sticking points still to be settled. But the one area of agreement between the United States and Pakistan is that the use of ground troops should be limited. Tom?
Thanks very much. NBC's Keith Miller tonight in Islamabad. Back here on the investigative front, a phone number found in a suspected hijacker's possessions, opening a new line of inquiry, and the terror money trail is leading more and more to Germany. From our terrorism task force tonight, here's Justice Department correspondent Pete Williams with the latest.
A new mystery tonight for the FBI. What to make of a discovery from the day after a hijacked plane smashed into the Pentagon. Searching a parking lot at Dulles Airport, the FBI revealed today, agents found a car owned by one of the hijackers. Left inside 4 drawings of the cockpit of a Boeing 757, the same kind of plane used to attack the Pentagon, and a box cutter knife. And, says the FBI, maps, one of New York, the other of Washington, D.C., on which was written the name Mohammed and what appears to be a Virginia phone number. The FBI traced that number to a suburban Washington apartment rented by a man who works as a security guard and who once worked for an airline catering company at Washington's National Airport. He said little in federal court today, hauled in on an unrelated check fraud charge, but his lawyer insists the man has no idea how his number got there.
How do you explain that?
I'm not even going to try right now, and nobody seems to know. I mean, it could be probably nothing.
Law enforcement officials say they can't explain it either, so they're holding him for further questioning. But so far, they've found nothing indicating he knew anyone connected with the hijacking. In Germany tonight, investigators follow the money trail with intense interest. A new focus, a man who runs a modest export-import company in Hamburg, on the list of entities suspected of giving bin Laden financial support. Investigators want to know if one of the hijackers contacted the Hamburg businessman. He denies the accusations, but admits a financial deal with an Iraqi man charged with helping bin Laden bomb U.S. embassies in Africa.
And U.S. officials tell NBC News tonight they suspect that tiny Hamburg company has actually helped bin Laden move money and equipment, even weapons, around the world. Pete Williams, NBC News, Washington.
Also tonight, a new crackdown on American trucks, especially those that carry poisons and explosives, after disclosures that some 20 people arrested after the terror attacks had applied for licenses to transport hazardous materials. NBC's national correspondent Jim Avila tonight on what could be a clear and present danger on the roads of this country.
America's 8 million freight trucks on high alert. New York's Manhattan Bridge. 3-hour waits today as police check for dangerous loads.
Can you check the back real quick?
Independent trucker Nick Fornerato losing business but not patience.
It's hurting us terribly. Yeah, well, what can we do? We just got to make the best of the situation.
One that's not scheduled to get better anytime soon. The Department of Transportation passing on a message to truckers from the FBI. Quote, those that manufacture, distribute, transport, or store hazardous chemicals should be especially vigilant. And late today, a cross-country warning to every trucking company carrying hazardous materials. Expect visits from government inspectors to increase security awareness. Why? There's no specific threat, but 20 of those arrested after the September 11th terrorist attacks used false documents to obtain or apply for special driver's licenses to transport hazardous materials from explosives to poisons.
But if they were either slightly modified or combined with another chemical, could even be more dangerous.
Is not that difficult. 4 weeks for the trucker's license and a 30-question test on hazardous materials.
If you study the book, yeah, it's easy. The book was built for, or written for like 6th grade reading level.
Serious concerns that along with closed streets, truck roadblocks, and new carpool rules on bridges and tunnels have tied up the streets of Manhattan and truck traffic nationwide. Jim Avila, NBC News, New York.
And not surprisingly tonight, the hardline spiritual leader of Iran has condemned the possibility of a U.S. attack on Afghanistan. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei claimed Iran was opposed to terrorism, but he said the U.S. was stained by its ties with Israel. In Washington today, President Bush met with the foreign minister of Egypt. Then he went across the Potomac to boost the spirits of the CIA, which is being blamed for a massive intelligence failure. NBC's Andrea Mitchell tonight with more on all that. Andrea?
Tom, the president tried to stop the blame game today, going to CIA headquarters to personally rebut mounting criticism of the agency. At a building named for his own father, a past CIA director, the president gave a pep talk to the nation's spies and their director, George Tenet.
I've got a lot of confidence in him, and I've got a lot of confidence in the CIA. And so should America.
The presidential hug for the CIA director, who briefs Bush personally 6 mornings a week, is a pointed response to the top Republican on the Senate Intelligence Committee, who today demanded that Tenet be fired.
He's actually supposed to manage the entire intelligence community. And I don't believe that has happened. I don't believe he has brought the skills to do this. I'm not sure he has the skills.
But should Congress share the blame? Just 3 months ago, Shelby said the CIA had Osama bin Laden, quote, hunkered down, on the run. So what happened? The CIA alerted the FBI and immigration officials about 2 of the suspects too late. They were already in the U.S., not easily found by the FBI. And last month, the CIA warned of possible bin Laden attacks overseas, but had no idea he would strike the U.S. Why is intelligence so hard to get? Past leaks have compromised electronic intercepts. Bin Laden no longer uses satellite phones. And Congress is told today infiltrating these terror cells is almost impossible.
No one should think that we're going to have someone penetrating Osama bin Laden's inner circle tomorrow afternoon.
The CIA is not permitted to operate inside the U.S. So why didn't the FBI find the terrorists or airport security stop them?
These terrorists had burrowed in our country for over 2 years. They were well organized.
Aides say one reason the president has just appointed a new director of Homeland Security is to make sure that all of the agencies do a better job of sharing intelligence in the future. Tom?
Thank you very much. NBC's Andrea Mitchell tonight. Also tonight, the president says he is encouraged by today's revival of peace efforts in the Middle East. Under intense pressure from the United States, PLO President Yasser Arafat and Israeli Foreign Minister Shimon Peres finally met and agreed to get the peace process back on track. A key step as America tries to build a coalition against terror. I'll be right back with the latest news on the American economy and how many businesses are offering big bargains to get Americans to open their wallets, where the deals are.
I wanted our architect to see this school with an 8-year-old's wonder. Could he create a launching pad for imaginations, where the environment itself is a teacher, and boredom has nowhere to hide?
When you want an architect to build on your vision, call a member of the American Institute of Architects.
This is more than a building. Miracles happen here.
AIA Architects, building on your vision.
New Malox Max challenges Mylanta Supreme. Who neutralizes more acid? Malox Max. Relieves pressure and bloating. Malox Max. Comes in 3 great new flavors. Malox Max. 3 ways the right choice is new Malox Max. Agree or it's free.
You are no longer soldiers. Each one of you is nothing more than the shadow of a soldier.
They are prisoners. They've been murders. With one last chance.
The eagle he wears on his shoulder may make him an officer, but it doesn't give him the authority to take away who we are.
To become heroes again.
We are soldiers.
Robert Redford, James Gandolfini, Mark Ruffalo, and Delroy Lindo. The Last Castle. Rated R. Coming soon.
Now, the same caltrate that helps fight bone loss may help your colon, too. In a recent study, caltrate helped reduce the risk of recurrence of colon polyps, a risk factor for colon cancer. The same caltrate you take for your bones, now for colon health, too.
At Pfizer, we discover and develop medicines. We wish we could make a medicine that would take away the heartache. Until we can, we will continue to do everything we can to help. We have donated more than $10 million to help our fellow New Yorkers and others affected by this tragedy. We urge you to help however you can.
Friday, dealing with the disaster, using the complete resources of NBC News. After such a trauma, how can you and your family start to heal? Turn to Today, NBC Nightly News, Dateline, and MSNBC. Dealing with the disaster. Special reports Friday on NBC.
Treasury Secretary Paul O'Neill said today that the terrorist attacks have delayed any hope of an economic rebound in this country by at least 3 months. And of course, as we've all heard over the past 2 weeks, no industry has taken a harder hit than America's airlines. The numbers are staggering. Delta today became the latest major carrier to cut jobs, 13,000 layoffs. Some industry analysts say as many as 500,000 jobs may be lost in industries related to airlines and travel. We have more tonight on the struggles and some of the bargains businesses are trying to lure consumers back to the marketplace. 2 reports tonight. We'll begin with NBC's Ann Thompson.
The ripple effect, evident in the nation's growing unemployment lines. Reagan National Airport closed to air traffic. Terminal A now a temporary unemployment office, processing over 2,800 people who lost jobs in the Arlington, Virginia area, including waitresses, mechanics, and hotel workers. David Shipp worked in human resources for U.S. Airways, the father of 3, very worried.
It scares me that the whole U.S. is having these problems because where am I going to move to find a job?
1,785 miles from Ground Zero in his Denver warehouse, Steve Rice also feels the impact.
What are you doing today?
His forklift sales and rentals all but halted. He's already laid off 4 people, including one today, and the cuts to his staff of 130 aren't over.
We don't have anyone going to help us out, so in our own small world, we have to try to solve the problems ourselves.
The growing number of layoffs only compounding the bigger problem, reviving spending by consumers. Worried about their jobs and now their security, economists warn there may be no quick fix.
The only thing that's going to change consumer attitudes and consumer buying is time.
Still, businesses trying to get people to buy. Unprecedented fall sales. Discounts, even free tickets to fly to New York. And 0% financing is bringing some consumers back to car dealers, but sales still way down. In these uncertain times, it may take more than just savings to get consumers spending again. Ann Thompson, NBC News, New York.
This is Kerry Sanders in Miami. Tourism hotspots empty here. The band's playing, but no one's showing up. The usually packed pool at the famed Fontainebleau Hotel in Miami Beach, deserted. With many tourists afraid to fly, room prices that were as much as $450 a night, now $149.
We feel that it's time to go visit your own backyard, and we're asking the Florida residents to come visit us here at the Fontainebleau.
The $582 billion U.S. tourism industry suffering a financial crisis. Already, Renaissance Cruise Lines out of business. Prices on other ships cheaper now than a decade ago.
It's very clear that buying cruises, buying vacations, buying dinner, buying shoes will be as important to this war effort as cruise missiles.
In Las Vegas, national airlines offering flights to the city for $1. Michelle Boudreau and her friends taking the deal from San Francisco. Their room at the Sahara Hotel, only $39 a night.
I think if you don't get back to life as normal, then in a sense they've won.
Disney World, a picture of emptiness. Nearby at Universal Studios, for the first time, the $50 theme park pass also includes the hotel room. The hotel industry now asking for help.
I think local and state governments should consider waiving the rooms tax, what we call a rooms tax, for the next few months.
What's unclear is whether tax breaks and travel deals will be enough to help people overcome their fears anytime soon. Kerry Sanders, NBC News, Miami.
And on Wall Street today, investors took some profits from this week's earlier gains. As a result, the Dow was down almost 93 points on the day. NASDAQ was off almost 38 points. When we come back, an inside look at the new efforts to protect you at 35,000 feet.
Hey, Teddy. Glad you could make it. No problem. Listen, you know how I told you to build all those stores?
Yeah?
And you know how I told you to staff them with computer experts?
Right.
Well, now is when we look like geniuses, Teddy boy.
How's that?
Well, there's a revolutionary new operating system coming out, and where's the best place for people to learn how to use it?
Our stores.
Bingo.
You're not bigger. They're smaller. Mini Oreo.
Buying or selling a home? RE/MAX agents lighten that load. Averaging more than 13 years experience, they work the kind of practical magic that sets you free. RE/MAX.
Oh, the things we endure for beauty. Being lathered in hot molten metal. Buffed until raw. Inspected over 100 times. But that's what it takes to be a Delta faucet. Every Delta is carefully crafted and meticulously refined to be beautiful inside and out. Isn't it worth it? Delta. Beautifully engineered.
When your eyes feel dry, gritty, irritated, protect them with Refresh brand eye drops. First, Refresh relieves dryness. Then Refresh forms a lasting shield of protection that keeps irritation out and moisture in. Refresh. It relieves and protects.
The long jump. The dash. Life is like a sport, and your feet take the impact hard. But new Stride Guard insoles absorb 50% more heel impact than these Dr. Scholl's. Take more impact in stride. New Stride Guard insoles.
It's been 1 week since you looked at me. Cause you heard the design of time angry. 5 days since you laughed at me. Together, come back and see me. You say you've forgiven me, but it'll still be 2 days till I say I'm sorry. Like vanilla, it's the finest of the flavors. Gonna see the show cause then you know the vertigo is in my door. It's a banger if you like to sign a waiver. I had a tendency to wear my mind up my sleeve. I had it's been 1 week since you looked at me. Dropped your arms to the side and said I'm sorry.
The world changes every night. And every morning, your first look at what's new comes from Katie Couric and Matt Lauer. Today on NBC.
Inside the mind of the enemy. NBC Nightly News tomorrow.
With commercial air traffic still way down, President Bush tomorrow will announce several new proposals to make flying safer. Among them, stronger cockpit doors and more sky marshals on board to prevent hijackings. An inside look now from NBC's aviation expert Robert Hager and how these special agents in the air train to stop hijackers.
Don't anybody move! Oh my God! Kill her and I'll kill every one of you!
Training today, armed sky marshals the government's counting on as a deterrent.
Please, don't move!
The FAA briefly lifts its veil of secrecy to show these exercises. Until recently, there were only about 36 sky marshals, used only on a few international flights. Now, some are already flying on domestic routes, and hundreds more are being trained. Trainees wear masks to conceal their identities because later they'll fly disguised as ordinary passengers. In some exercises, live ammunition is used, so targets are paper, meant to represent hijackers. In other cases, real sky marshals play the role of terrorists, so harmless paintballs are substituted for bullets, and plastic dummies placed in seats to represent innocent passengers. On real flights, guns will be loaded with special hollow point bullets, lethal but not powerful enough to pierce the skin of the plane and depressurize it. Elsewhere today, a demonstration of this type of ammunition by a manufacturer, International Cartridge Corporation. Deadly, but the bullets disintegrate against the metal walls of a box.
You can see there's no bullets left. All that's left is powder.
As for the sky marshals, there won't be enough to put some on every flight. That would take tens of thousands. Instead, the FAA will rely on an element of uncertainty, a deterrence the government hopes, since terrorists will never know what flight the marshals may be flying.
Tomorrow, President Bush outlines a package of security improvements, sky marshals, stronger cockpit doors, and tougher standards for airport screening. But the president does not advocate arming pilots. Robert Hager, NBC News at Dulles Airport, outside Washington.
I'll be right back with some rescue workers you may not have heard too much about.
Gotta go right now. Gotta go right now. Gotta go.
I have to go now.
If an overactive bladder makes you go and go and go, go to your doctor and ask about Detrol LA.
Gotta go. Gotta go.
Just one daily dose works for 24 hours to help control bladder contractions that cause those sudden urges and reduces accidents and bathroom visits.
Right now? Hey, I don't have to go.
Prescription Detrol LA. Individual results may vary. You shouldn't take it if you have certain kinds of stomach, urinary, or glaucoma problems. The most common side effects are dry mouth, constipation, abdominal pain, and headache.
And I don't have to go right now.
Ask your doctor about Detrol LA for overactive bladder when you've always got to go.
Tired of struggling down glass after glass of powdered fiber for regularity? Consider refreshing glasses of water with FiberCon tablets. A whole lot easier to take.
And every bit as effective as powder.
FiberCon, refreshingly easier to take.
This weekend, Enterprise Rent-A-Car announces special low rates from just $9.99 a day. Friday till Monday from just $9.99 a day. Pick Enterprise. We'll pick you up.
1-800-RENT-A-CAR.
New at 6.
By the authority vested in me as a judge of the state of Oregon, I now pronounce your husband and wife.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Multnomah County clerks say there appears to be more people getting marriage licenses, and many of them in the military.
Tonight at 6 on News Channel 8, where the news comes first.
The name is a legend in the Northwest. Stihl, famous for power and dependability. Right now, Stihl chainsaws start at just $179.95. The hard-working MS-290 Stihl Farm Boss is just $329.95, and blowers for fall cleanup start at $169.95. Plus, buy a saw now and get the Woodcutter's Protective Apparel Kit for just $49.95. Stihl quality, available only at your full-service Stihl dealer. Are you ready for a Stihl? See Mow & Machinery in Gresham, Clark's Lawn and Garden in Oregon City, and County Stihl in Vancouver.
Pack your TVs with the AT&T Broadband Everything Sale. Get every channel we offer with our Digital Platinum package on 2 TVs for the special monthly rate of just $59.99, guaranteed for 6 months. Get up to 244 channels, over $155 in savings. Free installation on 2 outlets, 2 digital receivers and remotes, and multiple screens of your favorite premium channels like HBO, Showtime, and Stars. Call 1-866-879-ATT8 now to pack your TVs with all your favorite channels. Hurry, sale ends soon.
At Ground Zero here in New York, there have been so many people performing heroic work in dangerous and emotionally exhausting conditions, and they are not alone. NBC's Virginia Chaw tonight on the days and nights of those who are truly man's best friend.
Sonny and his handler Shirley Hammond of the San Francisco Area Search and Rescue Team, partners for 7 years. The World Trade Center tragedy, the toughest mission of their lives.
This is what we train for. This is what we do.
One of dozens of canine search and rescue teams from around the country. Long, grueling days and nights searching. Rough work not just for the human handlers, but for the dogs, too. 12-hour shifts in smoke, twisted rubble and jagged steel, cutting paws, hurting eyes, dehydrating. A team of volunteer veterinarians near Ground Zero attend to the wounds.
We're doing the first aids and cleanup kinds of things for dogs that have come just off of their shift.
The physical challenge is only part of the toll. These elite dogs, most trained to find trapped people, are not finding survivors in the rubble. Instead, they are surrounded by the overwhelming smell of death.
At the end of a shift, the dogs return to home base, the Jacob Javits Convention Center, blocks from the war zone. Exhausted, they have a chance to rest, preparing for the next shift. But more important, the dogs need reassurance about what they're doing.
Mizo, do you want to search?
So they play. For Mizu, the game of hide and seek with handler Michael Kidd of Miami-Dade helps her feel better. Although she hasn't found any survivors yet, she is still succeeding.
So you would set up a situation where she could have a find, a reward, you know, to let her know that, yes, it seems overwhelming, but this is the game you love.
And that keeps these special dogs going. Like Oscar, with handler Mitzi Weber, also from Miami-Dade. Even with a bandaged paw, Oscar heads back to the danger zone for another 12-hour shift. Virginia Chaw, NBC News, New York.
We are all in this together. That's Nightly News for this Wednesday. Tomorrow, NBC's Terrorism Task Force around the world. New information from Afghanistan, Egypt, and Baghdad as the investigation widens. That's Nightly News for now. I'm Tom Brokaw. I'll see you tomorrow night.
Ultimately, we have to have the city of Portland and its leaders to trust us and our intelligence officers.
Police Chief Mark Croker defends the terrorist task force, especially now, but not everyone likes the idea. Also, 4 men arrested in Seattle suspected in a plot involving hazardous materials. Plus,
I now pronounce your husband and wife.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
tying the knot with the attack on America is the marriage business booming. The news at 6 starts now.
From KTW, where the news...